continuing to practice, just as we notice the chords, practicing in unfamiliar spots of the fretboard, just to remind myself, I know the melody of Bill Cheatham, but do I know it here? Or some version of the melody. I mean, even right there, that's probably different than the way I might play it in some other spot of the fretboard, but that's okay. And maybe I need to do some practice just to remind myself what a melody does feel like in a different spot of the fretboard. That kind of dips back into some of our intermediate level 3 shape work that we do. So, working in different positions, it would be helpful to play Bill Cheatham in the key of A without the capo. That would be something else that I would encourage, just to, again, to invite different, something I've not done before. I may never really need to play Bill Cheatham without a capo. I may never want to in a jam or a show. But the fact that I have experienced that and used it as a practice method, it's valuable because it's increasing my vocabulary, increasing my improvisational experience levels, and ultimately positive. Another thing we can notice in the interest of melodic variation, and we talked about this in that building block number 2, within the melody there's a sense of kind of travel up and down, ba-ba-doom-dum-bum, ba-ba-doo-ba-da-ba-da-ba-doom-bum-bum, in that internalized version of the tune. I can notice ascending or descending, where there's space, where the phrases start and stop. And I can use that to inform my melody. For instance, if the melody of Bill Cheatham is, like the sort of imprint of that melody, ba-ba-doom, bum, bum, ba-da-ba-doo-ba-doo-ba-doo-ba-doom, bum, bum, da-ba-da-ba-doo-ba-doo-ba-da. And so an immediate variation of that would be something that followed that phrase, but not necessarily those notes. Right? That had a little more of Bill Cheatham in it, even though it wasn't the melody. Because I just played the melody, it reminded you of the melody. So as an improvisational tool, that's valuable. And what's informing that is that recognition of that sort of melodic arc or contour. Where's the space? Where's a certain maybe pattern in the phrase that I can feel in my improvisation? And again, noticing that, but with different notes, is a great thing to aim for in our improvisational practice. And sometimes when we're in this level of practice, we will feel like, maybe let me stop here and slow down and work something out. That's okay. But the more we can kind of get back into the flow, the better off we are. And so aiming for flow, challenging ourselves with flow leads to a couple of other things as far as melodic variation for improvisational practice. Again, small things matter, and when we're embracing that idea, let's aim for eighth note streams. Let's aim for, if we're going to use space as a theme, let's use this endless stream. I mean, again, back to early lessons on the site where we're just interested in this. Just a flow of notes, connection, groove, rhythmic consistency. If that's informing how I improvise on Bill Cheatham, right? Easier said than done. And again, as far as the scary parts of improvisational practice, I don't know how I'm going to do that, but it's more of a commitment. It's a commitment that I'm challenging myself to make, to say, I'm not going to let the ball hit the floor here. I'm going to keep all this stuff up in the air, this energy, this momentum. And again, at first it may feel scary and I may fall on my face, but that's part of the process. Other things that we can use are, the inclusion of some of these other notes that we recognize, in those, advanced versions of kind of that strums and scales exercise where we're noticing, attitude notes or how the minors and the majors work together. Different songs are going to give us different opportunities. So again, in the interest of variety, play lots of songs. You may find in more bluegrass vocal tunes that you're practicing an opportunity for some cross-picking as kind of a general sort of focus for noticing the melody within the cross-picking. And the final thing I want to leave you with here is kind of a way to sort of embrace some of the things that you may have been playing in your improv to this point. Again, we don't necessarily want to undo some of the great licks that you might be playing, or the work you did to transcribe Tony Rice's great solo on 9-Pound Hammer. But we want to feel a little more mindful about how that's included in some of these other things that we're working on to open up our own voice. So ultimately, as a strategy, noticing the melody may feel like, okay, here is this thing that I've played a lot, but here's maybe a different version of it. Here's, even with the things that I already play, more space, less space, different notes. How can some of the stuff that you already know, or may even continue to learn as far as learning other solos or new songs, or a cool thing that you heard in Dan Tominski's rhythm playing that you want to bring into some solo. All that's really valuable information, but the main thing that we're encouraging here again is practicing improvisational experience. In real time, can I listen? Can I react? Can I at all times keep encouraging this experience that's about the moment? Not too conscious, not overconscious, but still mindful. So noticing the melody is a great way to practice improv, and we'll talk about one more next.